you know, QAnon's kind of a difficult thing to engage with for a person in my position, in large part because a hodgepodge shotgun blast of conspiracy theories isn't like it's not really debunkable because a lot of it is completely non-falsifiable. My general position is that the kind of people who fall into QAnon are kind of lost, not 100%, but usually because those are the kind of things that you can only really fall into if your faculties of reason have been eroded. I think it's possible to get people out of it, but not really with like a logical argument. Like nothing's impossible, but yeah, you know, it's one of those. It's the classic. You can't reason your way out of a position you didn't reason your way into, or you can't reason someone else out of a position they didn't reason their way into, which is a little bit like kind of existentially depressing for me because I've always wanted to believe that like no matter how bad things get, there's always a right combination of words that you can say to a person to move them over. Like there's, you know, maybe you can't figure it out. You know, maybe you're not the right person, but there is a person and there is a set of words theoretically that can bring them over. But that's not true. A little while ago, this got posted on the QAnon Ruins Families Reddit, an actual good subreddit. We will not make fun of Reddit for hosting. Trigger warning, my Q-dad snapped and killed my family this morning. And I saw this floating around online, I think 2 days ago, and when I read it through, and I didn't believe it. You know, because you can just say anything online. You know, I agree with the sentiment of the post, but I don't reflexively believe stories like this because I see a Reddit post on them. And then it got confirmed. So, revisiting. The internet ruined him. Growing up, my parents were extremely loving and happy people. I always had a special bond with both my parents. In 2020, after Trump lost, my dad started going down the Q rabbit hole. He kept reading conspiracy theories about the stolen election, Trump vaccines, etc. He always said he wanted to keep us safe and healthy. It kept getting worse, and he verbally snapped at us a few times. Nothing physical, though. He never got physical with anybody. I do want to point out, by the way, and I know that I make a lot of like ableist jokes here, but sincerely, stuff like family members or friends like quickly falling down like a QAnon rabbit hole, you know, is legitimately something that can be motivated by psychiatric problems. That is a real thing. You know, like a brain tumor or schizophrenia, any number of anxiety disorders. There are a number of things that can exacerbate people's vulnerability to online grooming, cultish behavior, and conspiracy theories. A lot of stuff can do that, you know, so just keep that in mind. Well, at around 4 a.m. on September 11th, wow, he had an argument with my mother and decided to take our guns and shoot her, my dog, and my sister. My mother succumbed to her wounds, and my sister is in the hospital right now. My dad also fired back at the cops, and they killed him. I'm shocked, and I don't even know what to say. Thank you, QAnon. I hope the FBI tightens its grip on you and that your lackeys rot in prison and hell for poisoning so many people. Based. The last bit, not the rest of it. Yeah. You don't normally believe everything sensational you read online, but yeah. um Here's a full article. Oh, that's a nice bit of news. Daughter says QAnon conspiracy theory fueled father's deadly rampage. The sister lived. Wait, was the original post from a woman? Or was that... I guess I just assumed because it's Reddit this was a guy. Let's find out further. I hope that the sister lived. A Michigan man with purported beliefs in the QAnon conspiracy theory was killed in a police shootout after he fatally shot his wife and severely injured their daughter. The daughter probably is going to live then. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office identified the man as 53-year-old Igor Lenis of Walled Lake, a small community. It's always like that, isn't it? A small community 30 miles northwest. You know, like people who have never seen a black person. Of Detroit. Well, maybe they have. Actually, no, there are some suburban areas outside of Detroit that are extremely racially segregated. Linus did not have a history of violence or protective orders against him, officials said, but according to his youngest daughter, who was not, okay, so they're two daughters then, youngest daughter, who was not home during the attack, Linus in recent years had grown increasingly in the thrall of the sprawling and baseless conspiracy movement known as QAnon. Rebecca Lannis, 21, told the Detroit News on Sunday that after Donald Trump lost the 2020 presidential election, her father began consuming crazy ideas online, including conspiracy theories about vaccines and Trump. Nobody could talk him out of them. This is what I've noticed, right? Like, and this must be the existential despair of having a family member or a friend fall into this pit, which I have not. I have conservative relatives, but I've never, I don't know, I don't think any of them are QAnon, certainly. But you know a person your entire life, you know and trust a family member or a friend, but like there are holes you can't pull a person out of. Excuse me. On Sunday, police received a 911 call just after 4 a.m. from a young woman who said she'd been shot by her father. Oh, she made the call. Holy shit. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office said in a statement, officers arrived at the scene, moved towards the hearing gunshot. Lannis came out the front door armed with a pump-action shotgun and began to fire at the officers. This is also evidence of psychosis. Kicking down your front door and emerging with a pump-action shotgun is objectively the most psychotic way of exiting a building with a firearm. Literally any other mode of exit or firearm is more mentally stable than this. This reads more like suicide by cop. Yeah. Police fired back, fatally shooting Lennis. What I would call fairly justified police shooting, given the circumstances. Holy shit, Vaush, my coworker's parents live next to this person. I thought it was just a random shooting. Well, damn. Officers then saw Lonnie's 25-year-old daughter, Rachel, attempting to crawl out the front door. Jesus. Before they dragged her to safety, she was later hospitalized and listed in stable condition. Rachel Lannis, who had placed the initial 911 call, told police her father had shot her and killed her mother. Were they shot with a shotgun? She's lucky to be alive. From what I heard, she won't walk again. Horrible, but like she's lucky to be alive. She was shot in the legs. Okay, hey, but still, sheesh. Those slugs are huge. The family's dog was also found dead with multiple gunshot wounds. So I think this cements my mental illness descriptor here. Because whatever level of mental illness compels you to gun down your family, in like a QAnon motivated psycho rampage, I feel like, do you think the dog's in on the lizard conspiracy theory? Like this was obviously a mental health issue. Rebecca Lennis was not home during the shooting, did not immediately respond to an interview request, but in a Reddit forum for people who have lost connection to loved ones of QAnon, she blamed it on the conspiracy theory movement. I want the media to call out Q because this is all their fault, she wrote. She lamented how her father's fall down QAnon rabbit hole changed him from fun-loving and carefree to someone who would get really pissy over the smallest things and warned of imagined dangers posed by modern medicine or 5G towers. Oh, the classics. Um, yeah. It's the only way to stop this is for it to not happen in the first place. This is why I don't believe in the free marketplace of ideas, by the way. The idea that like everyone is a perfectly rational person motivated by and convinced by the most rational evidence they have on hand is a lie, and it's never been true ever in any case. No, I don't even think the people who say that believe in it, you know. There are like everyone is irrational to some degree. Most people are irrational to a significant degree. And even perfectly rational people can be sort of corrupted by bad information. There's also the mentally ill, who, while mentally ill people are generally the victims of violence, not the perpetrators, conspiracism can be a sort of multiplicative factor that makes mentally ill people far more dangerous. And this is why, by the way, the idea of like free speech, free speech extremism, like puritanical free speech ideology, is not only absolutism. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Free speech absolutism is not only impossible, it is. It's not possible. It cannot be done. It's never existed anywhere in human society at any point in time, and it never will. And nobody wants it to either. But it's also not desirable. I think it's good for people to place limits on what acceptable speech is. We already do. We already feel this way when it comes to death threats and child pornography. I don't see any reason why stuff like that can't extend towards, incredibly violent conspiracism. There will always remain the threat. What happens if the people in power attempt to discourage the wrong ideas? To which the answer is, we fucking deal with it. This is what we have to deal with law as well. What? You want to jail people for murder? Well, that's fine and dandy, but what happens if they start jailing people for free speech? What happens if they jail journalists? Well, they do. And they have. But what are you going to do? Let all the murderers out in the street? You have to deal with it. You have to deal with these systems. You have to accept that any system which can be used to make human civilization more tenable can also be used to make it worse. And that the process for making the system livable isn't some one and done, you write the perfect law, you're done with it. Making society tolerable is a constant fight for what is good. There is never a point where we just get to chill. History will never end. We will never get to just go, oh, well, we wrote the best constitution and we have the best laws, so we don't need to worry about it now. We're always going to be fighting over what acceptable limits on speech are. It's never going to change, ever. It has never stopped for all of human history. People have been fighting against the limits, the prescriptions of the law, or of the aristocracy, or of the pharaohs or the emperors. It will never, ever, ever end. And that's fine. So human civilization is an interminable fight, to better refine the systems by which we make our lives better. Okay, sure, everyone has a battle, but let's stop pretending that, like, shutting down this shit would be some kind of grievous violation of our civil rights, Like Alex Jones going to prison for the innumerable things that he's done to make this world a worse place to live in. Like, this is some kind of blow to free speech. It is an improvement to free speech. Free speech is made better when free speech is cultivated of the loudest and most aggressively dishonest voices. Because free speech absolutism can never actually function as long as stuff like this is capable of happening. Tell me, have the free speech rights of the daughter and wife who were shot been respected? Is their free speech feeling good and pretty for them right now? Everything comes at a cost. It's like he got possessed by a demon, she wrote. He was. The sheriff's office said there's an active investigation into the incident and did not give a motive. I doubt they will either. The police don't really have much to do here. It seems pretty open and shut. QAnon gained momentum, and so on and so forth. Talks about QAnon for a while. Oh yeah, you might remember back in last year, yeah, the California man killed his 2-year-old son and 10-month-old daughter with a spearfishing gun. You remember that? I covered that on stream as well. Ah yes, Rave Dubin. How prescient. Yes, I covered this as well. A spearfishing gun. I take back what I said earlier. There is a weapon more psychotic than a pump-action shotgun. A spearfishing gun. This was, people got up in arms in this over Twitter because this guy, like, slaughtered his infant children with a spearfishing gun, and the pictures that the news media went with were, like, this type stuff, like white dad tier imagery. Because the meme, like, black teenager gets caught with an ounce of weed. Here's an image of him, like, in the mirror with a Glock. Like, white guy murders his whole family. He's on a jet ski. Like, that kind of thing, Oh! And then, Kim Iversen, the fascist who LARPed as a leftist for a bit, on The Hill, said that it's racist for the news media to do that. Racist against white people, because showing white people as safe and non-threatening in media images after they've slaughtered their family is a way of training people to be wary of white people even when they look that safe and non-threatening. So she said it's racist against white people. Play the clip. That was insane. If you can find it, I'll play it, but I wouldn't even know how to look at it. Yes, the classic Zach Fox tweet was brought about on that day. This is how photos be looking at headlines when a white man kills his entire family. Yeah, true. Do I follow Zach Fox? Oh, I do. I just thought I hadn't seen a tweet from them in a while. She said some stupid shit just yesterday, I think. Well, she is stupid, so yeah, it's gonna keep happening. Matthew Taylor Coleman told FBI interviewers he had received signs that this wife possessed serpent DNA and had passed it to their children. clip, Vaush?
Look at the photos of Ethan Crumbly people on social media.
Sorry. Yeah, here we go. Oh, okay. So this wasn't on the QAnon killing. It was on a different thing. But she still said this, and it's still funny, so I'm still going to play it. Banger of an argument.
Look at the photos of Ethan Crumbly people on social media and some media outlets are using. He's now 15, and yet they chose.
Yeah, 15-year-old high school shooter, by the way, and they chose this picture to run with, to show him.
This angelic-looking photo from about when he was 10. What is the purpose of this when there are several other photos like his mugshot that could have been shown instead? This same sort of tactic is used in reverse against Black perpetrators and even victims. Rather than use their school photo of them smiling and looking like good kids, they use the meanest looking, most aggressive photo they can find on social media to portray.
When I watched this for the first time, I was thinking like, oh, Kim Iversen's such a dumbass. But like, okay, she's on the right on this one then.
Portray them as villains. They attempt to portray them as people who either obviously would commit the heinous crime they did or victims who deserved it. They do this to placate a certain bias and mindset that the audience already holds, and the same looks to be happening in this case.
Look at that, like I was so like, oh wow, Kim Iversen and I, you know, wow.
Showing Crumbly as this innocent-looking angelic white kid is intended to stoke fear and support a narrative that white people, no matter how nice they look, are domestic terrorists who we should all be afraid of.
Oh man, that one never gets old. When I heard that one live for the first time, when I first heard that, that was the whiplash could have killed me. Holy shit, that was a wild one right there. Yeah. That was whew. People were dragging her on social media for that one too. Oh yeah, not to get too distracted here or anything, but the Russians have lost so much territory. Kim Iversen, who's a Russia shill. Unverified reports in Telegram say Ukrainian locals claim the soldiers in Kharkiv are English-speaking NATO troops. So the phrase unverified reports on Telegram is up there with like financial records I got off LimeWire. Like in terms of reliability, you know what I mean? You know, financial advice I received from the clouds. Yeah, Billy Bob from down the street. My horoscope, you know? I do like, though, that they're losing so badly, they have to attribute the loss to NATO troops. Great stuff. It came to me in a dream. Oh, shit, thank you. Wow. God, she's a tanky, ain't she? Oh, she's worse. I think Kim might be a neo-Nazi. She's way worse. She's not just a tanky and not just a fascist. She also like has gone out of her way to rep the whole like white genocide tier rhetoric for a while. Like not like you know, I mean she it's more in like the Tucker Carlson side of things. She's really bad. Yeah. Like a lot of grifters in her position, the first time I learned of her was a debate that she did with Destiny, where she was trying to argue how real leftists should support Donald Trump, and that was back in like 2019. And she's only gone farther downhill since then. Oh yeah, Kim Iversen got booted from the Hill. I think she's too far gone for them too. Daily Beast has a really good aesthetic. Okay, cut the segment.